Okay, we are on Daf Zayin Amud Bet. 7B2, I believe. Huh? Sorry, the top of 7B3, yeah.
I thought this was on fire. Is it continuing today?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, 7B3. Says the Gemara. So, what did we just have? We just had this question about whether or not the Kohen has the right to see something and not say something. Okay? Opposite of the sign. Okay? So Rabbi Meir said, no problem. You could see it and keep your mouth shut. And just don't say tameh. And that way he didn't ruin his holiday by looking at his tzarat on Chol HaMoed. The other opinion said, what are you talking about? The minute you see it, the same way you look at it, and you have to give a ruling, tahor, you have to give a ruling, tameh. The Gemara says, but everybody agrees that if the Kohen did not say tameh, right, it's not tameh. You got that? Rabbi Meir holds, as a Kohen, I'm allowed to look and not say. The other opinion holds, no, chachamim. If you look, you got to say. But what if I looked and I didn't say?
It's not tameh.
It's not tameh.
Assumption
Everyone
is-
agrees.
If it's not declared, then it's
Has to
Everyone agrees it needs to be
positive-
declared
it's a positive-
by the Kohen.
by the Kohen.
It's got to be a positive decision.
Declaration.
Nothing is.
No, it has to be a declaration.
Nothing is. You're not negative.
Nothing is just based on what the tzarat is.
Right.
So you could be 1,000% tameh tzarat. It don't matter until the Kohen says it, calls it. Okay? Machloket, if he has to call, doesn't have to call it. But if until he calls it, everyone agrees, not tameh. Okay? And what's the proof? The proof is, what's the other opinion? The other opinion that says that the Kohen, if he sees it, has to say something, right? It's not that he holds that the reality is koveah. You understand that point? In other words, let's say the guy has sarat. Rabbi Meir says, look at it, say either if it's tahor, say tahor. If it's not tahor, keep your mouth shut. Other opinion says, no, but if I see it, then I'm going to have to say tameh. Why am I going to have to say tameh? Because it is tameh. I got to say what I got to say. According to Rabbi Yossi, so what's his answer? So you know what? Since we don't want you to put you in a position where you're going to have to say, don't look at it at all. Yeah, but if it is, it is. If it is tzarat, it is tzarat. Clearly, even Rabbi Yossi holds that unless the Kohen says something, the tzarat doesn't become tzarat because it is. It becomes tzarat because the Kohen says it is. Okay? Says the Gemara. Remember the Kohen talia milta. It depends on the Kohen. Gemara says in. It's true. That is the case. V'hatanya, we learned in a Braita, ubiyom heraot lo, and on the day that you show the nega to the Kohen, what does it mean, ubiyom herot lo? Why does it say, and on the day you show the nega? It should say, ukishera, whatever, when he sees. Right? Yom, yes, yom, shtaro ebo. It's coming to tell you that there are days that are looking days. Yes, yom, she'iyah taro ebo. And there are days which are not looking days. Mikana meru, we learned from this limud in the pasuk, hatan shenolad bo nega. You have a hatan. He just got married. Now he has a nega tzarat. You're going to ruin his sheva berachot? Notnim lo shiv'at yimei mishteh. We tell him, put a long shirt on. Right? We're not looking at this now. We're not checking this. We're not getting involved. Notnim lo shiv'at yimei mishteh. Lo ulebeto uleksuto. Not only do we give this for him, thank you very much. Not only do we give it for him, we give it in a wider dispensation. Lo ulebeto ulekisuto. Remember, tzarat, a person could get in their flesh. You could also get tzarat on your clothing. So there could be a mark on the clothing, all right? And the clothing would need to be burned if it's tzarat. You can get a mark on the wall of the house. They would remove the brick that has the wall on it, but then if it's spread, it doesn't matter. I would still recording, hopefully, on the phones. It just won't be as good of a recording. Now it will be a better recording. All right? So, if there was a mark on the wall, the halacha is,
What is that mark on the wall or close? It's not tzara.
it's still tzarat. There would be like a marking that would come. It's a spiritual thing.
Oh, spirit.
It wasn't a disease. This is the proof that everyone translates tzara as leprosy. Right? The proof it's not leprosy is that your house could catch it. Right? You could get it on your suit. Right? So it can't be a physical malady. What we're talking about over here is a spiritual disease designed to make a person, to wean a person off of lashon hara, of stinginess. Those were the two reasons people got tzarat. Because they were being stingy with their money, or because they were speaking lashon hara. All right? So, actually, that was one of the things that tzarat would do, right? Is that if it was because he was stingy, there would be tzarat on his house. What's the law when it's tzarat on the house? The Kohen tells the guy, bring all this stuff out of the house.
Right.
All of a sudden, the guy's like, oh, I don't have a blender. So sorry. Oh, I don't have any money. All of a sudden now, he needs to put on the sidewalk everything. Everyone's like, oh, is that the axe you didn't have to lend me? Is that the thing?
Come clean.
Because you said, right, it shows up the guy who's the stingy guy.
So during
And the other one is, you spoke lashon hara. You obviously can't be trusted to be around people. Tzarat causes the person to be locked up by himself, or then eventually even locked up outside of the camp. So we preclude him from being able to do the lashon hara that he was doing before. So that's lashon hara. Either way, point is, if the tzarat goes on the hatan, bar minan, or on his house, bar minan, or on his clothes, bar minan, the whole 7 days, not just for him, we don't look at the tzarat. We're not going to get involved. We're going to give him that time. We don't want to ruin his happy time. Now, that's a much bigger chidush. On the guy, you take the guy out of the game, the guy's out of the game. But on his suit, wear another suit. I could imagine that you would tell him on his house, okay, whatever, stay in a hotel. Halakha is the first 7 days of the person's wedding, after the wedding they have Shev Berachot. We won't look at the guy's tzarat that week, so as not to ruin his happiness. And that's what the pasuk is telling us when it says, Ubiyom heraot. And on the day, there are some days when you look, some days that you show the Kohen, and some days that the Kohen is not willing to
So
look.
who
Yeah.
initiates the looking? The victim says, I think I have tzaraat, let me go to the Kohen.
Well,
Why would you, so if you're the guy that has tzaraat and it's during the chol,
yeah.
you're not so like, you say, we're not going to go get in trouble here. The guy's going to lock me up.
There's an
So
isur.
maybe I'll
There's an
lay low for a
isur. There's an
while.
isur in the Torah to have tzarat and not show it to the Kohen. It's forbidden. Let's say you have tzarat
You have
on
an
your shoulder.
obligation.
You have a shirt on, and no one sees,
That's an
right?
obligation.
Obligation, right? But on these days, there's no
No
obligation.
motivation.
Well, there is a motivation because remember,
During the chol,
there's
Moed,
motivation
you don't
because you're
have
making all these other things tameh, and that can result in them needing to be destroyed, right? So there's other motivations as well. Yeah.
The whole thing is
It's very good.
Hashem is making it
What about
happen.
if the Kohen of the tzara?
No, but why is it happening during Chol Moed? Why could Hashem give us a free pass for 7 days, not to put a burden on the Kohen or any
Don't
of
look.
those declarations?
Yeah.
Like, why did it happen at this time? Because someone did something wrong.
I think the point is very similar to what it says, but everyone understands what Jack's question is.
Yeah.
His question is, if it's a spiritual malady and God is sending it to you to send you a message,
Wait.
well then why is he sending it to me now so that I would not give it to a Kohen now?
Right.
Why would God send it if God doesn't want me to show
Put a
it?
burden on the
What's the
Kohen.
answer? Well, there's no burden on the Kohen because the Kohen's not looking at it.
Right.
But it's a burden on the guy and it's not doing anything. The answer I think would be similar to the answer that we have with regards to Pashat Noach. In Pashat Noach, we read about the fact that when God, the world is very, very bad and they deserve to be destroyed, so God's promised that he would never bring another flood. But when he's angry and he wants to show the world that he's angry, he shows a rainbow, which is a sign of God's covenant with the world not to bring another flood. What's the point of showing us the sign if you're not going to do anything?
Remember,
Because you still learn the lesson.
you still learn the lesson.
The guy is lashon haraing everywhere. Tzarat is coming his way. But why does Hashem give it to him now? Because he needs the lesson now.
So it's like a
he should know that we're only giving you house arrest, Yani,
a
or
reminder.
reprieve,
Really a reminder.
because you're having your happy days over here.
Get this. Don't
Yeah, but he needs to learn the lesson immediately. Okay. Says the Gemara.
But he has the good thing. What about the Kohen?
Kohen has to show to another Kohen. The question you should ask is,
We only have 2 kohanim today.
could a Kohen look at his own nega? That's the question you should ask.
What's it?
Obviously, a Kohen gets it, shows it to another Kohen.
Right.
But could a Kohen, as a Kohen, look at his own nega?
Well, he has to look to know he has it.
No, it's true. But could he declare or not declare on his own nega? Now, I don't want to be tameh. I'm like tahor, baby. You know why? Because I said so. And my last name is Cohen, not Richardson. Okay. V'chein baregel. Says the Braita, not only the Hatan, but also in the Chol HaMoed, or on the festival, when you have someone who has a mark of tzarat on him, notenim lo shiv'ati me'aregel. We give him the 7 days of the holiday. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, that's what Rabbi Yehuda holds. Rabbi Omer, en no tzarich. We don't need the pasuk of ubiyom heraot. Harehu Omer v'tzivah kohen ufinu et habayit. You don't need to prove to me from there that until the Kohen says something, it's not tameh. I don't need that proof. Biyom heraot. There are some days yes, some days not. You know why? Because the pasuk says that when the Kohen was coming to look at your tzarat of your house, when the house is declared a house of tzarat, not only does the house become tameh, but everything in the house, chol asher babayit, yitma, everything in the house also becomes tameh. So what does the Kohen do? When the Kohen is coming to look at the house, what does he do? V'tzivah Kohen, the Kohen gives a command. Ufinu et habayit. And they move everything out of the house. Before he comes to state, they tell him we have tzara in the house. He says, okay guys, I'm coming at 2:00. Get everything out of the house. Yeah, everything out of the house. Why? Because anything that's in the house, when he declares it tameh, it's going to be tameh. So what do you see from that? Right? You see that until the Kohen says something, right? Why? If it's tameh. So all those things were in a house that he said is tameh. Yes, but until he said the word, it's not tameh. It's not like a revelation.
Didn't declare it.
Watch. Let me give you an example. You said a good example, like an inspection. Mm-hmm. Let's say some guy, Bar Minan, has asbestos in his house. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. He's got something, black mold, very dangerous. Everything in the house, after you get something like that,
You have to check it.
you have to throw it out. It'll get ruined. Imagine I tell you, look, I'm coming to check asbestos, black mold. Take everything out of the house. You take everything out of the house. I come in, I'm like, it's black mold. You think the fact that you took the things out of the house 3 minutes ago means that they're kosher now?
No.
When I tell you it's asbestos, I tell you it's black mold. It also was asbestos. It also was black mold.
Already contaminated.
When the Kohen comes and tells you it is tzarat, what is he effectively telling you? It also was tzarat. And if tzarat makes everything impure, then all the things you took out didn't help. The answer is, doesn't matter. Until the Kohen declares it tzarat, not only is it not tzarat, it doesn't even become tzarat previously in time. So whatever you got out of the house, you see the guy running out of the house, the Kohen's like, "Sir," and as he dives out the window.
So it's a loophole. It's a good loophole. It's easy on that.
Huh?
It's like a loophole,
yes,
really.
because it's space.
To get him,
It's space.
to get him.
Yeah.
We didn't say it yet, so it's not. So
Correct.
get it out, so it's not.
1 minute, it's not a loophole. The nature of tzarat begins when the Kohen says tameh.
I'm not saying, you know what I mean. But
No, but it's important to understand, because it's not that we're like letting you out, because according to this one, according to that one, no. The Kohen declares it, that's when it becomes tameh. Anything that happens before that was not tameh, including the house itself, by the way. Okay, now that that's the case, says the Gemara, genius. Im mamtinin lo ledevar reshut. If the Kohen says, look, I'm going to wait, guys, get everything out of the house, and then I'll come. If we'll wait for something, which is dvar reshut, like saving your couches, right? How much more so, kol sheken the dvar mitzvah. How much more so for a mitzvah? So the person has a mitzvah to rejoice on the holiday. Person has a mitzvah to rejoice, to have celebrations on the first 7 days of his marriage. So you don't need to give me a pasuk, ubiyom heraot, that there are days you could see, days you don't see. Since the Torah tells you, that the Kohen tells them, he forewarns them. He says, get the stuff out of the house, I'm not going to come check it till I come. If we'll do that to save your money, for sure we'll do that to save a mitzvah. So Rebbe has an alternate way of learning this mitzvah, this halakha out, just through logic. Clear? Okay.
At that time, tahor and tameh was a very prevalent thing. In other words, obviously from this, most people, a large percentage, were tahor. Because it's isolating the tameh to a situational thing of...
This was like every minute of every day conversation. Just so we understand what we're talking about. Tzarat is one item. But then we also talked about the graveyards and marking them off. Everyone needs to be tahor. And we also talk about...
That's assuming everybody was tahor, right?
Yes.
It's always about not being tahor.
No, 1 second. Now, hold on. Not everyone was tahor. No. The Kohanim all made sure they were tahor. You know why? Because what's the problem if you're not tahor? What can't you do if you're not tahor? Can't do korban. But now, I'm a Kohen. It's not my time. It's not my time to go serve in the Beit HaMikdash. I'm off now. What do I got to be tahor for? You know why? Because the Kohen is also eating tirumah. You have your field. You cut a portion of your field, give it to the Kohen. That tirumah is holy. The only way the Kohen's allowed to eat is if that's his ekel. If he's not tahor, he has no tirumah. Can't eat it. Starving. He doesn't have a field.
So he's incentivized.
So the Kohen was always in a tahor conversation. Now the tzaddikim, they used to eat even chulin b'tahara. Even their regular food, they always ate everything out of tahara. It's a Gemara in Masechet Sotah, at the end of Masechet Sotah. Okay? So this was a conversation for everyone always. For all different reasons. For some people, it was because maybe I have to eat from a korban. For another person, it's because of this. A third person, it's because if I'm going to make the item tameh, then I can't share it with my brother-in-law's Kohen. If for the other guy, you understand? This was very prevalent. Now, you know what happens? Once this becomes something that, like in the same way, in a very kosher home, you have different pots for meat and milk, different counters. You know why? You mess up enough times, it's so annoying that you have to throw this out, or you have to all the work. You eventually learn to have complete separation. Once it became part of the day-to-day, they already began to separate tahor and tameh with much more rigorous methodologies. Okay, let's continue. Says the Gemara. Okay, so we just had two different opinions in the Braita. What's the difference between these two opinions? The difference between the first opinion, who says that we learn it from Biyom Heraot, and the second opinion that says that we learn it from logic, right, is the difference is between how you learn the pasuk. Virava Amar, okay? So there's no difference between them. It's just, did you learn it out of that pasuk, or did you learn it out of the other law about clearing out the house? Virava Amar, Rava says, Devar hareshut ikaminayu. No. The difference is on the Devar hareshut, okay? What does that mean? The first opinion said that there are certain days that we won't look at a nega. So what got included in that? Chatan, the days of the holiday. The second opinion says, look, if we pushed it off for Devar HaReshut, for the money, then we could for sure push it off for a mitzvah. But you know what else is included, by the way, in that opinion? Any other Devar HaReshut. Anytime there's going to be some issue of loss of money or some other problem, we're able to push it off because we want to push it off. You hear? So, according to Abaye, there's no difference. According to Rava, there's every difference in the world. Listen, I have tzarat, but I have front row tickets, to the Ranger game. I've been waiting 6 months to go to this game. Cost me $2,000, $20,000 a ticket. The Kohen could say, I'll come by at 8 p.m.
Does this show how in tune the Kohen was with everyone's life? Like they knew exactly your situation to say, you know what, it may be, but I know what's happening in your life this week. Come back next week.
Look, if the Kohen's not a Ranger fan, I'm not sure if I trust him to bring my korban. Because there's no one who's experts in being a korban more than Ranger fans right now. We're being slaughtered nonstop. Okay, although we won the last two games. All right, so, but yes, absolutely. So, says the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda, 1 second. Rabbi Yehuda, Mehatam lo gamrinan, right? Dechidushu. So now the Gemara is going to explain, right? What are we talking about now? We have two different opinions who derive the halachot from two different places. One derives it, Rabbi Yehuda derives it from biyom heraot, that you on the day that you look, i.e. there's days that you don't look, and that excludes special occasions that are set aside previously, like Chatan, holiday, etc. Rebbe says, no, it's not a specific item, right? It's all the different things, okay? Rabbi Yehuda, mehatam lo gamrinan. From there, we don't learn. We don't learn from your pasuk, from the case where he tells them, get the stuff out of the house. The chidushu, because the case of tzarat on a house is a chidush in and of itself. Because in general, items made out of wood or stone don't become tameh. Because, right, that's just the general law. So if you're telling me in tzarat that there's a chidush, and over here they're becoming tameh, you can't tell me, oh, you know what, we're going to learn out laws for the other tzarat from here. You know why? Because this whole item is like a weird item, and it's anomalistic, okay? So I'm not going to draw any laws from this chidush. So Rabbi Yehuda says, that's why I didn't learn like you, Rebbe, from the case of the house. Okay. Now, if that's the case, the Rebbe Amar, and Rebbe says, okay, so Rebbe who now learns it out of the house, right? That you could postpone it until they get the stuff out of the house. Why do we have a pasuk that says Ubi Yom Heraot on the day that you're looking at it? Rebbe Amar Rebbe says it's strict. You need both pasukim. Because if the pasuk said Ubi Yom Heraot bo on the day that you look, indicating that there are other days, Hava Amina ledvar mitzvah in ledvar reshut lo. I might have thought that you could only postpone it for a dvar mitzvah, i.e. holiday or chatan, but you can't postpone it for some other matter of a great physical or monetary loss. Katav Rachmana, Torah said, V'tziva Kohen, the Kohen commanded to empty the house to teach you that you could even postpone looking at a tzarat for some other matter which was very important but not a mitzvah. So let the pasuk only say the discretionary one, and then we'll know for sure a mitzvah. Like Rabbi says, I would have said dafka over here is where the case only, in the case of the house, is where we can make this exclusion. Because this tum'ah is not a tum'ah in the person's own self. It's tum'ah in an object. Aval tumah de gufeh, but tumah on the person himself, ema michza chazyale, I would say that has to be seen immediately. On that the Torah says, biyom heraot, tzricha, therefore we need both. Okay, everyone understand what we just did?
So now we went to saying that for the body, you got to make a decision.
Immediately.
The Kohen sees it, he says, Tameh. Tahor, Tameh. He has to make a decision. He can't say, no decision.
If it's on the house,
we'll let it go.
it's on my money,
Right.
okay, whatever.
Right.
It's not so
During
strict.
the holiday.
But let me take it further. The Gemara tells us that how does tzarat come? The first tzarat that comes is tzarat on the house. Then the person doesn't get the message. He carries on with his lashon hara, stinginess. He gets the tzarat on his clothing. Then he gets tzarat on the body. I'd imagine that the strictest of the tzarat, which is on your body, you can't play games anymore. Where's it going to go next, Yanni? In your inside?
Follows you.
Right? So you got to get it. You got to get it taken care of.
The tzara itself is getting worse.
Right.
It's moving itself. Forget about
Getting closer to
alleviating the
gufeh.
problem.
To gufeh. So I understand this logic that Rabbi Yehuda is giving. So let's just review. We have two rabbis, two different pesukim. Rabbi Yehuda says the pasuk comes from Yom Heraoto. On the day that you look, some days you don't look. The other opinion says that we learn it from the house, clean out the house. Ask the Gemara, what's the difference between them? The Gemara answers, the first opinion says, you can only push off for a mitzvah. Second opinion says, you can push off for anything. Any discretionary item, loss of money, the Kohen can decide, Hazit the guy, he's been working on this painting for so long, let him finish the painting, I don't know, whatever it is. If the Kohen thinks that he could delay it a little bit for the guy, allowed to do so. Okay? Ask the Gemara, why doesn't the first rabbi hold like the second rabbi? You're telling me machloket, but why? Why did Rabbi Yehuda, the first opinion, how come he didn't learn like the second opinion? Then why didn't he learn from the house? The answer is, he says, since the house is a chidush, you can't draw any lessons from a Hidush. That's an anomaly. That's not like, as an example. Could you learn any lessons of politics from Donald Trump?
The House is an exception to the rule?
Wait. Let me finish the line. Could you learn any laws in politics from Donald Trump? No. The guy, he's such an outlier. If anyone tried to imitate him, they would fail miserably. And by the way, we actually saw other politicians try to pull a Trump, and how did they do? Ramaswamy, DeSantis, they all try to Trump themselves. Well, how did it work? It didn't work. You can't bring laws from a Hidush. Okay? So the first opinion says the whole house item is a Hidush. You know why? Stones and wood never get tameh, only over here. So it's a Hidush. You can't tell me that on the Hidush has a law, we're going to learn that law to everything else. Doesn't work that way. It's an outlier for a reason. Okay, that's his opinion. Gemara says, okay, Rabbi, what about the other guy? So what does that leave him with? He doesn't have the learning from the house, which is where you learn discretion from. All he has is biyom heraot. On certain days, yes, certain days not. So he's only able to learn which certain days. It's a specific day. The fact that you lost money, didn't lose money, that's not a day thing. The holiday are set days. Those are set days. We don't look at that. So he's left with his halakha. The other opinion says, one second, I learned discretionary. Ask the Gemara, okay, so then why do you need the other pasuk? Why did the Torah tell you biyom heraoto, according to you, if you could have learned it out of the house item? So he answers brilliant. He says, because if it only would tell me the house item, you know what I would think? I would think to myself, maybe the Torah only let me do this game, on a house, because it's not my body. But on a body, for no reason, for no how, could I push it off. The Torah comes and tells you, when it's set out on your body, also, there are days you look, days you don't look. Now I know that it's up to a discretionary idea with regards to looking, not looking. Now I could learn from there that I could postpone and I could delay even tzarat digufeh. The Gemara continues, Amar Mar taught, okay? Biyom herauto, and on the day it was seen. Yesh yom sheta ro'ebo, yesh yom she'ata ro'ebo. There are days that you look at tzarat, days that you don't look at tzarat. Okay? My mashma, where do we see this? Maybe the Torah is just saying, on the day that he saw this, how do you know that it means that there's some days yes, some days not? Amar Abaye says, Imken, if that's what the pasuk is trying to tell me, right? It's only that it's describing, and on the day that he saw, that there's an extension of tzarat, lichtov rachmana biyom. Why my ubiyom? What is this extra ubiyom and on the day? So in other words, if it just meant to say literal, biyom, on the day that he sees it, he calls it tameh, then it could have said biyom. What's the ubiyom? The extra vav is there for a dirasha. Shama mina, yesh yom shtaro ebo, yesh yom shiataro ebo. There are days where you what's it called? Where you look and days that you don't look. That's Abaye's interpretation, how that opinion learned it from that pasuk. Rava says, no, kula kra yiterahu. The whole pasuk is extra, right? When we say kira over here, usually kira means a pasuk. Over here it means this reading, i.e. this word, okay? De'im ken, lichtov rachmana, ubeheraot. Ubeheraot. And when the Kohen sees that the tzarat became legit, like one of the ways, like there's healthy skin in it, if there's a white hair, if the white expands, all it needs to say is ubeheraot, and when the Kohen sees. Why do you have to say, and on the day the Kohen sees? You gain nothing in the sentence from the whole word ubiyom. Is that clear? So instead of saying ubiyom heraot, and the day that the Kohen sees, he declares it tameh, we could have just said ubeheraot ha-Kohen, and when the Kohen sees, the word biyom is extra. So therefore, it must be coming to tell me that there's a day that he looks. And there's also, conversely, a day that he does not look. Lichto rachmana ubeheraot, ubeyom is extra. Yesh yom shtaro ebo, yesh yom shi'ata ro'ebo. The Gemara says now, okay, Abaye, how come you didn't say like what Rava just said? The Abaye says, we need that word to tell you, bayom lo balayla. You know why I had to use the word bayom? I couldn't just say it when the Kohen sees. Because there's a halakha, they only look at tzara during the day. How are you going to learn that? We learn that from here. Ubiyom eraot, and on the day. So therefore I needed to say the word day. So I don't agree with Rava that you could have skipped that word.
Night you cannot.
Now you can't look. Now, remember this? Tennis.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
I say this.
Yeah.
The Gemara says, how come he don't learn like you? Oh, because he uses that for something else. Oh, really? So how does he learn that item out? Oh, he learns it from there. Oh, what does that guy do with that word? It's a tennis match. For every extra answer creates a whole, right? You see how that works? Okay. Rava. So what does Rava do? Biyom velo balayla minale. So if he uses bayom to teach you this ruling, so how does he know the law that you can only see during the day, which comes from this pasuk? The Gemara says, "Nafkale mi lechol mar'eh enei hakohen." Whatever the kohen could see. When could you see? Only in the daytime.
In the day.
Right? I never understood this. Why?
You could have a light at night.
They had fire.
Right.
Lenient. Not lenient, but let him delay the ruling.
No, the question is not delaying here. The question is a completely separate question. Is a kohen allowed to look at a nega at night?
Says here, no.
It says here no. Now, Abaye gets it because it says ubiyom. That's clear as day. Pardon the pun.
Natural daylight, but at night.
Whoa. No, don't get so smart. You know why? Because the Torah says bayom. So in the first limud, there's no games.
Right.
Torah says, and on the day. So what do you learn from there? That it has to be in the day. Right. The second opinion says, when the kohen will see it, what do you mean kohen will see it? Kohen can see it at night. He just needs strong enough fire. So what's the proof from that you could, right? What's the proof from this pasuk?
That he will achriz in the day.
That you can't do it in the day, you can't do it in the nighttime.
He can see at night, but maybe he cannot machriz.
Huh?
He can see at night. He can observe this at night, but he cannot machriz.
Why not? Why not? Again, he's proving it because it says that the Kohen, and if the Kohen could see, well, you can only see in the daytime. That's not true. You can see at night, you can see by fire.
Right.
So you want to tell me that fire doesn't count, so teach me that fire doesn't count by telling me the word bayom. Or teach me that fire doesn't count by telling me something that's proven. Now, clearly, the way...
So maybe it's like, because he has to see it himself, like no assistance, no... You know what I mean? Like, 'cause
Okay.
if you do it at night,
When you have the
then
fire,
you need light,
it's
you need
aided.
fire, you need like the extra examination, a little deeper.
So-
Day is...
I want everyone to focus. I want everyone to focus in. Read the words because Joey's on the right track. I want you to focus on the words. This is not. We don't need this for the Gemara, but we need this to be able to learn how we learn Gemara. Let's go back to this. Virava.
Bayom velo balayla.
Virava. If it's on 8A1, if you're following in the English side, second column, you see the word the word that starts Virava.
Yeah, but
Virava. Biyom velo belayla minale. How does he learn that you could only examine tzarat in the daytime and at night? Nafkale, he learns it. Mi lechol mar'eh enei hakohen. Right? To lechol mar'eh enei hakohen. Wherever or whatever mar'eh enei hakohen. The light that the sight of the kohen can see.
Those eyes. Okay, good.
So again, back to natural.
How do you know that does not mean that at nighttime? With some form of light. What's the proof?
Mar'eh.
Daytime.
What does Mara? Mara means I could see at night with fire.
Yeah.
But that's an aided technique, meaning you got to allow him.
Where do you see the word natural?
You don't.
See? So I see the logic you're trying to use.
Yes.
But how would you see only natural in that?
With the daylight, no
So-
extra light. Is that?
But where do you see that? In the pasuk.
Bayom.
No, but the bayom guy has the word bayom. We're trying now to get bayom without bayom. Because he uses bayom for the other dirasha. So where does he get it from? From the eyes of the Kohen could see, l'chol mareh enei Kohen, to whatever the Kohen could see. So let me show you how you do this. One would imagine that maybe the way Rava is reading this is l'chol mareh enei Kohen, that the eyes of the Kohen were all that was necessary to be able to see it. At nighttime, if all the Kohen has is his eyes and not a lighter, he can't see nothing. You see, but the point is you have to pull it from the pasuk. Another way of learning it might be L'chol mareh enei Kohen. L'chol means to all of the sight of the Kohen. At nighttime, even if I have enough, I don't have the max. So if you're looking at something by fire, so it's lit up, but it's not like it's in the daytime. So you don't have lechol mar'eh in Kohen, to the full sight of the Kohen.
So therefore,
So
It's partial sight.
If a Kohen needs glasses, then he's
No.
using aids to do it, and he's not qualified.
Good question, but I don't think that that's true. Why?
that would be during the day too. Glasses.
Sorry?
You'd have glasses during the
No,
day.
but
You have glasses during the day too?
Yeah, he's right. Yeah.
Now hold on, by the way. Hold on. We're going to get in 1 second to something.
Things than glasses and candle. It's
don't
an
even have
additional
glasses there.
item. It's not just his eyes.
That's what Jack's question is. Maybe glasses should make you, should get you out.
We get a new Kohen.
Wait.
That could see.
With better eyesight.
So,
Put this guy out. Great question.
now, by the way, I would estimate that it goes basically based on the fact where the Kohen himself will say and decide, does he have enough ability to see this in order to be posek? Might have many cases where the Kohen will say, look, I can't see. Right? So look at Rashi. Rashi goes easy on this. Yeah, you see that? Rashi is maybe 10 lines down. Mare enei Kohen. Mashma bayom.
Yes.
That indicates the daytime. Why?
Yeah.
Sheyachol lirot.
Yeah,
He can see. He keeps it simple.
Yeah.
But it's a hard one.
He didn't get to that conversation.
He didn't get it. He doesn't get involved at all. Yeah?
He isolated.
Let's find another guy somewhere around.
Huh?
Let's find a new guy.
Let's find a new guy. Okay, so that's where they leave this. All right. Okay, so let's continue. So we have a couple different ways to understand this. Maybe lekol mar'eh enei kohen means that it needs to be with all of his sight. Okay, and maybe what's it called? The indication is lekol mar'eh enei kohen that it has to be that the eyes of the kohen are what bring the sight and not something outside it. Okay, so we have different ways of seeing it. One is that it comes by him, not versus someone else. One is he needs to have the max sight in the situation that he has. The difference in those two opinions might be glasses. Because the max I have is this, right? But not nighttime. Whereas the other guy, yeah, okay, fine, let's continue. Gemara says, Ve'abaye, but Abaye, okay, Hahu mibaye, so why? So tennis match. Now we have a new pasuk on the table. L'chol mar'eh enei kohen. What does he use that for? Hahu mibaye lema'ut suma be'echad me'enav.
Yes.
You have a guy who's blind. He was blind in one eye, right? So he could see. Obviously, if he's blind in both eyes, he can't look at your item.
There's a board.
But if a guy has blind in one eye, okay, is a suma be'echad me'enav allowed to look at tzaraat? Yes or
That
no?
pasuk in the Mishnah,
Sorry.
the extra pasuk that you bring in.
Yeah.
Where's that from? The Gemara?
Torah.
From the Torah.
Yeah, these all from the Torah. The psukim are all Torah.
Very high,
Yeah. So Abaye is saying, okay, what do I do with that
This
pasuk?
whole time, they didn't know about this pasuk when they told
They do, but each time we're using that. So where do we get that from? Okay, we got that from. So the other guy says, okay, well, if you're going to use that for something else, where do you learn this halakha from? The guy says, I learned it from that pasuk. Then he says, well, now that I do that, what do you do with that pasuk? That's the back forth. Okay. Abaye says, I learned that from let's say I have 20/20 vision in one eye, but no vision in the other eye.
Good enough.
I can see perfect. Halakha is pasul.
Pasul.
Why? It says lechol mar'eh einei hakohen.
Yeah, Einayim Rabim.
The eyes,
Yes.
not ein hakohen. The Gemara continues v'rava nami. Okay, so Abaye, I like that. You go to Sanu halakha. V'rava nami mibai le'lachi. Rava also needs this pasuk of to exclude because we know that that's the halakha. Suma be'echad me'enav can't look. So therefore, what are we going to do? What are we going to do if Rava needs that? He can't use that pasuk to tell you that it has to be seen by Yom. The Gemara says, "Enachenami." You're right. So if Rava can't use that, so now what do? We now go back to the last item, right? Remember? So let's just review. Rava said Bayom v'lo balayla, right? The whole word. Where does he learn that you could see that you're not allowed to look at a nega at the nighttime? So he said he learns it from the pasuk l'chol marei einei hakohen. The Gemara says, but don't we use that for the blind guy? Gemara says, yeah. So now we can't use that for Rava either, because Rava doesn't have another place to learn it from. So Rava goes back and he says, so where does Rava learn the law of daytime and not nighttime? Where does he learn that from? Nafkale mikenega nir'ali babait. The pasuk says, kanega, like a nega I see in the house. Li velo leori, to me and not not to my light. Kanega nira li babait, I am seeing what looks like a nega in the house. Not that my fire is exposing the light I'm using at nighttime to light it up is showing the nega. It has to be that I could see it, so to speak, by myself and not by the aid of the fire. Okay? So, says the Gemara, so Abaye also has this pasuk. So why does he need the other one for it? Abaye argues, he says, if I'm learning it from li velo leori, from kanega nilei babayit, I would say, hani mili tum'a delav de gufe. That's on a case like the house, which is not on the body, and therefore it's not so close to home as on my skin. Aval tumah de gufe, but the tumah on a person's actual self is much more chamur. I would assume that he's even able to declare tumah by the help of oro of the fire at night. Kamash malan, that even on the body you still can't you can't declare tumah at night, only bayom. Okay, so with that we've closed the halachot. Now, in the end of the day, whether you go like Abaye, who learned it from one pasuk, whether you go like Rava, who learned it like the other pasuk, let's just review what we know to be true. We know to be true a machloket between Rabbi Yehuda and Rebbe. Rabbi Yehuda says that the only things that you could delay tzarat for are the specified days of a mitzvah. Rebbe says that you could delay it from even for an item which is a reshut, which is discretionary. The reason for that is because Rebbe learns it from the pasuk of the house, which tells us that you can wait until everything is taken out, because otherwise there's going to be monetary loss. On top of that machloket, we had a whole question about why each opinion says what they need to say. And then came a machloket between Abaye and Rava on whether there was a machloket just in where you learn it from, or if the machloket was actually in the halakha. Rava told us that the machloket was also in whether or not you could delay for a devar reshut, okay? Now, once we hit that opinion of Rava that there's a machloket, okay? Now we needed to try and figure out why they disagreed. And once we figured out why they disagreed, that gives birth to this whole run-on of Abaye and Rava trying to figure out where you learn the laws from. Why is that all relevant to us? Because in the discussion that we're using to figure out which verse we use, we actually uncover a few more halachot. First of all, that the guf is more chamur, is more strict than the house. That's the first thing. The second thing that we uncovered on this is that you can only test tzarat in the daytime. The third thing that we uncovered is that a sumah, be'echad me'enav, someone who's blind in one eye, can't look at tzarat. So in this conversation, right, that we've gone back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on, we wound up learning all these other halachot that were surfaced by the conversation of which pasuk you use. So sometimes people say at the end, they're like, what do we just do? So what's the bottom line? Meanwhile, on the way to get to that bottom line, we learned 4 more halachot, which are going to be relevant in the process of tzarat. Now that we're up to the Mishnah, we're going to end here, but now that we're up to the Mishnah, we're going to move on from tzarat. The only reason why we got into tzarat, if you remember, was to tell us that on Chol HaMoed, we don't look at the guy's tzarat according to one opinion. Other opinion, we look at the guy's tzarat, but only to give him a lenient verdict. If you remember, we said that machloket was only in one case, not in the case where the guy is tahor off the street. Tahor off the street, everyone agrees, you don't look. Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim, the Rabbanan. So if the guy walks in, regular aigay, tahor, he doesn't need any reason tahor. We're not looking till after the holiday because you could only make it worse. Remember? Right. Yeah. Says the Gemara. And if the guy was confined one time, everyone agrees that you do look. Why? Because you can only make it better. Okay? When's the machloket? The machloket is after the second confinement. That's the machloket Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says, look, and don't say if it's not going to make it better. Rabbi Yossi, who's the Chachamim, he says, no, if I'm going to look, then it's going to be a problem. So therefore, I'm not going to look on Chol Moed until after the holiday is over. That is a nutshell, the whole Gemara that we just learned on that Mishnah.
Where are all these Pesukim in the Torah?